Some history. The 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act, which is often cited as a legislative failure, it offered immediate legalization along with a promise of enforcement that was never fulfilled, was supposed to impose strict sanctions on employers for hiring illegal immigrants, and this central provision that came under attack almost immediately. In 1990, for example, the National Council of La Raza released a report arguing Congress had a moral obligation to repeal the unconscionable employer sanctions, which were inherently discriminatory and infringed upon the civil rights of Americans. The report also called for a second legalization program aimed at the illegal immigrants who came to the U.S. after the enactment of the 1986 law. See, there's no end to it. Its author, Cecilia Munoz, is the Obama administration's top immigration advisor. She was recently named director of the Domestic Policy Council. Shortly thereafter, listen to this, the leading members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy, began drafting legislation to repeal the ban on hiring illegals, though it was never enacted. There was no need, really, because the sanctions were rarely enforced. In 2004, just 3 employers, 3 in the entire country, were fined for hiring illegal aliens. Gang of 8 ringleader Chuck Schumer, then a congressman, also had a role in undermining the provisions of the 1986 immigration reform, despite voting for legislation that same year that would have required illegal aliens that were legalized under the act to pay up to 3 years of back taxes. After the law was enacted, Schumer wrote a letter urging the Treasury Department to immediately exempt newly legalized residents from that requirement, an objective that was ultimately achieved with the passage of tax legislation in 1988. The very same Congress that says we need to fix the system sabotaged the 1986 law. They sabotaged it. Republicans may look to the welfare reform battles of the mid-'90s for lessons on the political wisdom of trying to bar immigrants from receiving federal benefits, as the Gang of 8 bill purports to do. Well, the 1996 welfare reform law conditioned eligibility for benefits on citizenship as opposed to legal status, meaning that most legal immigrants were to be treated the same as illegal immigrants. The provision did not last long. Listen to this. On a bipartisan basis, Congress, the Clinton administration, later the George W. Bush administration, steadily rolled back the restrictions. And in a 2002 interview with the New York Slimes, welfare reform architect Newt Gingrich praised George Bush's efforts to restore food stamp eligibility to immigrants, conceding that the original provision was wrong and went too far. Will today's Republicans show a similar resolve when it comes to things like Obamacare? So you see, even the Republicans, we have the strictest rules, the triggers, they're all there. They're not going to do it. They're going to cave. They're going to buckle. And the Democrats won't give them an inch. This isn't going to be fixed, quote, once and for all. The border won't be secured once and for all. This won't address our problems once and for all. This will increase them by a magnitude of God knows what. This bill needs to be killed. Now secure the damn border. You say you will, now do it. Let's see. Prove it.